I will tell you everything that you need to know to keep yourself safe from an accidental fentanyl overdose on this episode of One for the Road. Across America, we have police officers collapsing from almost instant overdose. Even some firefighters and EMTs are afflicted. Fortunately, many are revived with Narcan and go on to be just fine. The headlines read, "My partner saved my life with Narcan." And the accidental fentanyl overdose myth cycles on and on.
A Florida police officer nearly died of a fentanyl overdose.
On the brink of death after being exposed to fentanyl.
The power of even the smallest touch of fentanyl shown in this video.
He's not going to let him die after Five Eye was exposed to fentanyl.
Seconds later, a rush of officers coming to the rescue.
The deputy saved by his partner who was equipped with the life-saving medicine known as Narcan.
All Waukesha County Sheriff's deputies now carry fentanyl-resistant gloves.
Can we please stop this madness with some real information? First, let me say this without ambiguity. Most, if not all, secondhand fentanyl overdoses are not real. When I say secondhand, I mean these public safety fentanyl overdoses because we encounter a powder and then we become concerned about what that powder is. They're not real. We're attributing almost all of these to panic, hyperventilation, and what psychologists would refer to as conversion reactions, where you experience something in your body because you strongly believe that's what you're supposed to experience. What we don't see is the respiratory depression and altered mental status that are typical of an opioid overdose, of a true opioid overdose. So the events that are associated with this type of behavior are often associated with the fentanyl training and Narcan training that a lot of departments receive that involve some fear-based element of being concerned about opioid overdose. So far, we have no recorded deaths of a public safety person coming in contact with an opioid and then overdosing on it because they either breathed it in or got it on their hands or something of that nature. In fact, as far as I know, we have yet to see one of these where we've been able to confirm that the substance that the person came in contact with was indeed fentanyl and that the blood work at the hospital after the fact confirmed that they had opioids in their system. We've never seen that chain complete itself all the way through for the folks that we've treated at the hospital for these types of events. So let me say this. There's been a lot of initial press, and then there's little or no follow-up after the fact. That initial press is those dramatic headlines about officers being saved with Narcan, and the follow-up about what the physician at the hospital truly believed happened to that officer never gets reported on. I want you to know that fentanyl isn't readily absorbed through the skin. That is not a way that opioids are easily entered into the body. In fact, it took a lot of years to develop that fentanyl patch because it's very difficult to actually get fentanyl to absorb through a person's skin. It's also not easily distributed as a vapor in the air. It's possible to get some sort of connection or some sort of exposure through a powdered fentanyl that you breathe in, but to the volume that would allow you to overdose on it, it's just not reasonable to believe that that's what's happening. So let me tell you this. Just wear your normal personal protective equipment. The PPE that you already have is more than enough to protect you from an accidental fentanyl exposure. And by the way, you don't need special fentanyl protective gloves. Your latex gloves will already protect you from that fentanyl, and so will your hands underneath those gloves. So some gloves on your hands, some eye protection, you're more than covered for an accidental fentanyl exposure. Now, please understand, It is not my goal to poke fun or to downplay the seriousness of provider safety. There is a lot to be concerned about on this job. It's a dangerous job, but in this case, it's our fear that's compounding the problem. We need to account for our safety, and then we need to let go of this irrational fear that a little bit of fentanyl in the air or a little white powder on our hands is going to render us unconscious. The mass hysteria is real. In the words of President Roosevelt, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. So wear your PPE, be safe, and link this video to someone you know who still believes that fentanyl powder will render them unconscious if they touch it with their hands. Help stop the fentanyl overdose myth. Put something down in the comments to let us know. Did you go into this video believing in the fentanyl powder myth? Do you feel like this information is helpful? Thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here. I'm Steve Whitehead, and that is One for the Road.